Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's edition of the Sunday Wire. I'm Patrick Henningsen, your host. We are streaming out live on X, Rumble, YouTube, also live on BitChute, as well as Facebook Live. And we're also on the audio streams going out to your finer podcasting platforms like Spotify, iTunes, and others just after the show. So if you're subscribing on the auto streams, you'll find us on all of them. So thank you again for joining us. This is episode 574 of the Sunday Wire. And again, we are going to be covering some important topics today. We'll also be joined by our teammates in the Overdrive segment just after the first break. And we've got quite a few things to cover, as you know, by the show graphic today. And the title of this program today is The New EU Reich, The Road to Ruin. And it certainly looks like it. Europe has really pulled the rug out from under themselves this week. And we'll show you how and why. This, of course, this has to do with the seizure of Russian assets. We'll explain and break down why this is a disaster for Europe, probably for Ukraine, not so much for the US and Russia. And also, the EU has decided to sanction some very, very high-profile podcasters and journalists for daring to have a viewpoint that veers from the propaganda narrative of the new EU Reich. But this Reich is also morphing into an EU Soviet, and we'll show you how that works. It's a very strange and quite a dark development for Brussels. They're clearly losing the narrative war on Ukraine, and so this is how they're lashing out. They're attacking journalists and people who are basically commentators and people they don't like. It's not the first time, but it is a disturbing trend. And it's coming while the whole European kind of proxy war end of the Ukraine conflict is falling apart, which is funny. You know, if they had done this like 2 years ago, it might have made a difference in their propaganda war, but they've already lost the narrative war. So they're just basically lashing out in frustration. And this is what governments do when they can't win the military war, which they've been pretending they could win by coming up with all these fantasy scenarios about how they're going to suddenly, turn the tide, and propaganda that Russia's collapsing and fighting with shovels. All of that stuff, of course, has faded into the background. Meanwhile, the facts on the ground are quite obvious. Russia is absolutely hammering the Ukrainians, who have basically burned through, 300 billion in Western aid and support, and hasn't really stopped Russia from achieving its objectives in their special military operation. You might not like to hear that if you're in Brussels or in Berlin or Paris or London or some of these other Baltic states, but it's true. It's true. We don't make up the facts on the ground. They are what they are. But obviously, some people don't accept those as evidenced by what they've been doing. So we'll get into that certainly in just in a few minutes. And I just want to remind people as well, let's bring up onto the stage the winter fundraising drive for 21st Century Wire. It's happening now, and you can go to our website. We really, really need your support. We've been running this platform. We launched it in late 2009. That's a few years ago. So we've been around, and we've been consistently building up and expanding and getting our message out. And we've done an incredible amount of investigative reporting over that period. We've broken some massive stories, and we have actually made a dent in the narrative. And we've even made it extremely inconvenient for some massively funded government and NATO funded propaganda campaigns. So much so they've had to wind down those campaigns because of the work that we've done, as well as some of our other colleagues in the independent media sphere. But why I'm saying that is to let you know that, a lot of independent alternative media outlets have come and gone, and we're still here, and we're still doing it, and we're still doing it better than ever. And we want to keep doing more of it. And to do that, we need your support. So if you can find it within yourselves this holiday season to support us, this is how we plug the gaps for 2026. through this annual winter fundraising drive. So this is approximately what we calculated we need just to basically break even. And that's our goal. It's up there on screen. We're working our way towards it. We'll also be announcing some of the names of the people supporting us, just their first names, of course, protecting their anonymity, but acknowledging their great generosity and support. And some of you have really stepped up for us in the last couple of weeks. And I'm just blown away by the generosity and the commitment from our listeners and viewers to help us. And we want to do more. We have some ambitious plans. We've rolled out quite a lot and done a lot of great investigative reporting. I've commissioned some fantastic exclusive reports over this last 12 months, and we're going to be doing a lot more of that, of course, in the next 12 months. And we need your help to make that happen. This show, the Midweek Wire, all of our live programming, plus our daily content, our intelligence briefs, and information research that we're publishing daily. And also the video output that we've been doing. It's exceeded anything we've done in previous years, and hence we've got a lot of traction right across the internet as a result of that. That's because of your support. So thank you for those who have done that over the years, not just in the last couple of weeks, but some of you have been with us for a long time, and we absolutely appreciate it. Without you, we wouldn't have been able to do it. That's 100%. There's no doubt about that. We are absolutely independent. And yeah, you guys are the star of the show when it comes to this platform. And we really appreciate also the audience engagement. We'll be featuring some of the comments. They're already starting to flood in some of the comments on our streams, YouTube, Rumble, and the other streams. So thank you for your engagement. We'll be looking at some of that very shortly. And also we want to acknowledge our Sunday screening, announce our Sunday screening this week. This is our weekly documentary film curated by our editorial team. It's called Never in America, The Unmasking CPS's Kidnapping Empire. Ladies and gentlemen, the amount of child kidnapping and snatching and trafficking that's being done through the Child Protective Services, not just in America, but in other countries as well. Same type of scandal, same type of pattern through these institutions, government institutions, care homes, and etc. It's a network, and this is a great documentary. It's a film by Ryan Mata, and this is definitely an independent production. It's very hard-hitting, and watch it now. I don't know how long this is going to be up on the internet. This is so explosive, this film. So it's a very important issue. I'm sure some of you watching, it's touched you. This issue has touched your life in one way or another. And so I know people have been long time personally affected by this. It's horrific. It's horrific. So our hats off to independent filmmakers for this effort. It is a brave effort, completely bootstrapped. So make of it what you will, folks. We recommend people at least watch this film, and they will be better informed on this issue. That is for absolute certain. So thank you for that. So back to the business at hand. What are we looking at here? A Nazi Europe? It certainly looks like. And again, we're going to ask the question here this week. Who actually won World War II? Who won World War II? We're told the Allied powers won World War II. Look at this rogues gallery. These people, so you've got Zelensky, and we put the Azov Battalion badge up on screen next to Zelensky. That is a ultra-Ukrainian nationalist Nazi military component, which comprises half of Ukraine's military. It's staggering. So we are the West, Europe, the U.S., with this asset seizures and theft and all this other stuff. They're stealing from Russia to arm a Nazi movement. Now, it's one thing to have some Yahoo marching in Charlottesville with a Confederate flag that he bought off Amazon, or at the Canadian Truckers Rally in Ottawa, and the media making a meal out of that and calling that some kind of far right, revival or whatever in Europe. It's one thing run stories like that. While our media domestically in the West get outraged about some random Confederate flag appearing as probably a Fed at January 6th or whatever. Meanwhile, the US government, the European Union, the British government have been supporting and arming actual Nazis in Europe, providing them with intelligence from our intelligence services, doing joint operations with Nazi battalions to kill Russians. Now, some people might say that's a problem, but other people might say, well, it's just a means to an end. So all's fair. As long as it hurts the Russians, let's go ahead and build up an armed Nazi movement in Europe. Many would say that's a bad idea. So who's behind this? Ursula von der Leyen. Then you have Mr. Stubbs, the new Finnish leader, who is also completely on board with this. Friedrich Merz, probably the most dangerous man in Europe right now. Probably the worst German chancellor since, well, I don't dare we say, since the tiny mustache man. Since the tiny mustache man. Many have said this. Friedrich Merz. Arming Germany to go to war with Russia. Now, pardon me if that doesn't ring very well historically. I mean, maybe that's just me. Am I the only one who hasn't suffered amnesia for the last 120 years? Come on. Seriously, you guys. And then you have Mark Rutte, who I'm wondering who his great-grandparents or grandparents were. Were they officers like Prince Bernhard from the Netherlands? Were they Nazis? I mean, it's a legitimate question at this point. Kalia Kallas, the great intellectual powerhouse from Estonia, I jest. She's talking about breaking up Russia. She's all for arming NATO, arming the Germans, militarizing the Finns to take on Russia once again, replay the tragedy of the Second World War. That didn't end well for the Wehrmacht, did it? No. The Soviet Union, the Red Army, inflicted over 80% of the casualties that the Germans, that were inflicted on the Germans, on Hitler's war machine in World War II, were inflicted by the Russians. Okay, not the Allies. So who broke the back of the Nazi war machine? It was the Russians. But these people, all of these great war historians here, these great political minds, the Europeans of which have approval ratings hovering around 15 to 20%, if they're lucky. I mean, we didn't put Macron on here. I think he's hovering down around 15%. Keir Starmer, because he's technically not in Europe, at least the EU, we've left him off. His approval ratings are the lowest in the UK since polling began for a leader, which is not very good. That's, that means he's not popular, just to translate it for those who can't work that out. So somehow this is going to end in tears, if it hasn't already, at least for the German economy. But nonetheless, this is where we're at. Now, before we get to that, I just want to also acknowledge this story here. These are the hunger strikers from Palestine Action. And Qasser Zuhra, she was hospitalized. And it's not as if there was an ambulance waiting for her in the UK. No, I think Zara Sultana, member of parliament, was lobbying for the prison to send an ambulance. It was because of public pressure. They actually did something for her. So I think they have saved her life. And you're talking about 40 plus days of hunger strike. Amu Gib, Tuta Hoxha, and Mohammed Umar Khalid, I think he has stopped his hunger strike. And Louis Charamello down in the lower left-hand corner, he's diabetic, so I think he is striking every other day, refusing food on alternate days. Kamran Ahmed, I think he is still in hunger strike. Heba Muraisi, John Klink, and that's the last one there in the lower right-hand corner. He has stopped his hunger strike. So that's the status of the 8 main individuals. What are they striking for? Well, the fact that this is a basic criminal case, but they're being housed as terrorists. They've been held on remand for a year and a half, not allowed to have any contact with each other. And Palestine Action was not proscribed, so to speak, as a terrorist organization when they were actually arrested back in 2024. Okay, so yet they're being treated as terrorists. This reminds us of Julian Assange, unconvicted, held as a Category A prisoner in a supermax prison without being, convicted of anything, and held forever on remand when he could have had an ankle bracelet slapped on him. He's just as easily, but they want to make an example out of him, just like these people here. And they're not the only ones. These are just the hunger strikers. So I just want to bring attention to these brave individuals because they are heroes during this Christmas season. You should be thinking about them. They should be in your prayers, and their families and everybody else who I think are being held and tried as political prisoners. Let's not kid ourselves of what this is historically. Let's not fool ourselves. You can label them this, you can label them that, but these are political prisoners. Just like Julian Assange was a political prisoner. That's beyond debate. Now we look back at that and say, yeah, of course he was a political prisoner. Just like these. No different. Why are they political prisoners? Under intense pressure from the Israeli lobby on the British government to treat them as such. So again, grading away and grinding down our institutions and our rights, dispensing with due process because of pressure from a foreign lobby to persecute people who are, quite frankly, nothing more in the historical context. Direct action is nothing more than anti-war protesters and human rights campaigners, nothing more. Certainly not terrorists. Utterly ridiculous. But that's where we're at. This is how they've been labeled. And even though these weren't arrested when Palestine Action was labeled a terrorist group officially, they're still being treated like terrorists. That's what their strike's about. They want due process. They want to be treated correctly. But that's not happening. Wow, what a vendetta. Cruel. Very cruel. Someone should step forward and turn this around before it's too late. Somebody within government needs to do that, or many people within government need to do that. Act on principle, not on politics. Certainly not under pressure from a foreign lobby. That would be a violation of national sovereignty, wouldn't it? One would think so. So, and again, take action, dismantle the war machine. This is an anti-war movement domestically in the UK. That's how the courts and the law used to view them up until recently because of intense pressure from the Israeli lobby, probably from the United States as well. They were getting involved in disrupting arms trafficking to Israel, who's carrying out a genocide. I mean, most reasonable people would be against that. Most reasonable people would be against that. So think about them this Christmas. It's not often you see that people would put their lives on the line based on principles. So those are your real heroes. Those are your real heroes. These hunger strikers. It's very brave. And there's no guarantee they're going to get anything at all as a result. Certainly, if you look at the mainstream media, they're not getting any sympathy. No, well, they will. I mean, what the mainstream media have, the BBC won't move until somebody dies. then they'll move. They'll say, "Oh my gosh, this is terrible," but not before. They should. They should. If the journalists were doing their job, they would be holding the government to account and taking it seriously. I'm not convinced that the mainstream media are taking it seriously, which is very unfortunate. So let's get to the business. Let's find out how is the EU Reich doing? Well, they hit a little bit of a roadblock this week. The EU was trying to use 250 to 300 billion in frozen Russian assets that were frozen because of sanctions. They're trying to unfreeze those and use those to pay for their own defense budgets because they're broke, and to funnel to Zelensky so he could fund his drug habit for the next 12 months. And so it's corporate welfare. So steal Russian assets to provide corporate welfare for the European military-industrial complex, as well as U.S. military-industrial complex supplying weapons. And then they would use some of that, send some of that to Ukraine as well to keep Zelensky fed and watered with narcotics for the next 12 months. And at the very least, hundreds of thousands of dead Ukrainian men and boys thrown into the front line in a losing war. That's what they were hoping to do. They failed. They failed because of, well, among others, dissent came in Europe. Hungary, Czech Republic, Slovakia, led by Viktor Orban, Robert Fico. So, and those countries border Ukraine, or they're right in the thick of it. They're frontline countries. Romania would have been in that list had the Europeans and the CIA not intervened to rig the Romanian elections, presidential elections recently. They didn't like the candidate. He was too pro-peace, so they canceled the elections after he came out in front. So very democratic, this European Union. So nonetheless, you have the dissenters. Italy also was against this, the ECB. Christina Lagarde, to her credit, she opposed it. And the Belgian prime minister was against it because Euroclear, where the funds are held in escrow, is based in Belgium. And Lagarde and the Belgians made it very clear they're not going to violate the Treaty of Europe to fund a war. Not only to fund a war, but what's bizarre about this is you have these warmongers in Brussels, like these two, von der Leyen and Friedrich Merz, that they're desperate to find money any way they can to fund a war or to fund a country that's at war that's not even in Europe. Ukraine, and again, we have to repeat this, is not an EU member. They're not a member of NATO. They should be a neutral state, but these people are hell-bent on pushing them into NATO because they want to extend the front line of this East-West war that the West has been pushing since the Iron Curtain fell and the Soviet Union dissipated in 1990. Since then, NATO and Europe have been on a mission to expand NATO eastward, to surround Russia, and in the words of Kalia Kallis, to break up Russia into 10 small pieces. She is the head of foreign policy of the EU. Yes, she said that publicly. So, they can deny it all they want, but that's their end game in all this. And they're failing badly. So this was the consolation prize here, this was their 11th hour sort of patchwork deal, which they're claiming was a great victory. So their fellow members would not let them steal the Russian assets, because also that would just destroy trust in the European central banking system and the European Euro bonds. Who would want to park their money in Europe if under pressure from the US or Israel that their assets could be frozen for any reason, or from these warmongers? Europe has suddenly become not such an attractive place for investment because of these people have shot themselves in the foot, desperate to keep their war going. So the EU has agreed on a 90 billion euro loan to Ukraine without using this seized Russian assets, but still having them in the background as collateral. So this is basically, they're saying when Russia loses, Russia will pay war reparations. And so that's the collateral. Future war reparations are the collateral for this $90 billion loan. Where's this 90 billion euro loan coming from? It's debt that's being created by the banks, loaned to the European member states, paid by the taxpayers, and given much of it given to Zelensky. And you've seen the corruption scandals. The money is just evaporating there. And that's only going to increase, because as Ukraine continues to lose the war and all these people are getting done for corruption in Ukraine, they're all basically padding their nest to escape the country anyway. It's over. The rats are fleeing the sinking ship. And these clowns in Europe are still scraping money to keep the war going. So, I mean, this is and again, I credit Sean Fu, the Chinese economist, for this. This is a payday loan. This is a payday loan, and the collateral is non-existent future Russian war reparations. I mean, it's comical. What a scam. These people are so corrupt. They're so corrupt. So it's unsecured collateral for future reparations in a war that Russia's winning. They're not going to pay reparations if they win, but Europe is going to hold them to it. So while they didn't get the seized assets this time, what Europe is doing here is there's still the assets are still frozen indefinitely. They're not stealing the money, but the money's held there. They're going to revisit this when Russia wins. When the Europeans finally admit that Russia won, and there's terms, and some kind of negotiated settlement is reached one way or the other, or some treaty is signed, they're going to then steal the Russian assets at that point and claim there's a war reparations. In other words, they're not going to let go of their narrative of, quote, Russia's unprovoked full-scale invasion. It wasn't unprovoked, and it wasn't a full-scale invasion. Okay. That's not my opinion. That's just fact. And these are uncomfortable facts. And that brings us to our next part of this story. And by the way, before we get to that, Russia's not unhappy about this result because it means that it's status quo. And if it's status quo, Russia's winning. So 90 billion, I mean, they could steal 200 billion and, share it amongst themselves to put in weapons orders that might not be delivered for another 5 or 10 years, and give some to Zelensky. Half of it goes up his nose. The other half gets, siphoned off into foreign bank accounts of him and his crew and the other oligarchs that are padding their nests in Ukraine. Okay, fine. But Russia's just going to grind on and get on with business. So if they've spent 300 billion, propping up Ukraine and the Ukrainian state, paying state pensions, basically this is like a little guy in the gym that's on steroids. That's powerlifting. That's Ukraine. It's that little guy in the gym that's taking anabolic steroids, who's powerlifting way above his capability. But the minute you cut off the steroids, he shrivels up, and you realize, no, it doesn't cost 150 billion a year to run the Ukrainian government. It does in this environment because they're being subsidized with free cash. The Ukraine is an overvalued, non-performing asset. It's a liability. It's a massive liability. They're selling it like it's some kind of asset protecting Europe and European democracy from Russian, Putin rolling the tanks over to France and then over the English Channel and to Britain. And then what? They're going to invade Ireland, the Russians. And then on to Iceland. And who knows, Greenland after that. I mean, it's a joke. So if they haven't beaten Russia after spending $300 billion in the last 4 years, what's 100 billion or 200 billion going to do for Ukraine? Nothing, because they don't have the manpower anyway. They don't have the organization. They don't have the manpower. They don't have the artillery. They haven't got. They don't have advantage in any lane of this conflict at all. Of all the available aspects of this conflict to look at and evaluate, Ukraine has no advantages on any of them. They'll continue to lose no matter how much money the West throws in to this black hole called Ukraine. And that includes the political capital that they're putting in as well. That's going nowhere. The political capital is wasted, basically. There's nothing that's going to happen that's going to be positive. They're not going to turn it around. It's not going to happen. So yet here they are, folks. So they're losing the narrative, and because they're losing the narrative, here in this new Reich, the European Reich, these are the main purveyors right there. Again, who won the Second World War? It's hard to work that out. At least on the Western European side. Did the Allies win, or did the Nazis win? I mean, what is the European Union at the end of the day? Hitler had a dream of a united Europe with Germany at the center. That was a dream of Hitler. Some say that dream came true under a different guise, with different branding. So they're cracking down on free speech. So the EU, and we'll bring this up on screen here, this past week has sanctioned a number of independent journalists and podcasters and other people. It's not the first round, but it is the most shocking. They're calling these Russian hybrid threats. The European Council, based on their accusations and no evidence, have sanctioned 12 individuals and 2 entities over information manipulation, whatever that means. It means information they don't like, and cyber attacks. Does our mainstream media manipulate information? Do our governments manipulate information? They do so every day. With regards to Ukraine, they're putting out outright lies, fabrications, and false information. Our Western governments, our Western mainstream media. I mean, do you really want us to go down and do an audit of the last couple of years? So anyway, but yet they're attacking independent media pundits. In fact, these are people with standing in, well, one of them in particular we'll talk about is right here. His name is Jacques Bau. His last name is spelled, well, I'll show you a graphic up on screen, but Jacques Bau, former Swiss intelligence, worked with NATO in Partnership for Peace, worked with the OSCE. This is a high-ranking individual who's retired, who is top of his field, most amount of experience, but he has been publishing truthful analysis. He's written books, and they don't like the conclusions he's come to. He's Swiss. They're not a NATO member, although he himself worked with NATO. Guy is very sharp, but they're throwing their toys out of the pram now, because they're losing the narrative war because of people like this. And then they're accusing him of being part of a Russian information operation, even though he doesn't cite any Russian media sources in his book or articles, even though he doesn't appear on any Russian TV programs, but they're claiming he appears on pro-Russian podcasts. Just so you know, that's Colonel Jacques Bau right there. He's a regular, is a popular podcaster. Glenn Deason has a very popular channel on YouTube. He's from Norway. Jacques Bau's a regular guest on programs like that. We've all been used to watching him and listening to him, learning from him over the last couple of years. Why are they why are they targeting people like this? This effort has come out of France, apparently. So we're told this has come out of the Macron regime and has been rubber stamped by the authoritarian European Commission. The European Commission. So there's no right of appeal. No one's allowed to see any evidence. And so these people are being sanctioned. That means their assets are frozen. They're not allowed to fly or board aircraft. So if you're in Switzerland, if Jacques Bau is in Switzerland, he can't leave Switzerland. If he's in another European country, he's stuck. He can't access his bank accounts. What did he do? He had a viewpoint that differed from the NATO narrative. Ladies and gentlemen, understand what we're witnessing here, okay? This is pretty incredible. Here's one of his articles. That was, note the date, April 11th, 2022. The military situation in Ukraine, an update. So I was following him back then. Of course, these are the sources that I would use because they were accurate. They've been proven to be accurate. What did he prove? He proved that Russia was not unprovoked. The military intervention taken by the Russian Federation, what they call their special military operation, was an intervention that was a direct result of the collapse of the Minsk peace process and the buildup of NATO-backed Ukrainian forces that were killing civilians in Donbass. And a major offensive was coming, and he gives the evidence for it in the series of articles published early April 2022. All proven to be 100% factual and accurate. But because of this, and because of the fact that he has also been talking about the Ukrainian resistance, Western Ukraine, there's a resistance, underground resistance against the Zelensky regime. They want the war over. They're tired of Zelensky's press gangs kidnapping men against their will to fight in this losing war. Jacques Bau has been also talking about this Ukrainian resistance. This destroys the narrative that Ukraine is resisting Russia and they're feisty and they still want to fight. The people in Ukraine, at least all these able-bodied men, they do not want to fight NATO's war anymore. And that is an inconvenient truth. That's too much for Brussels, too much for NATO, too much for the European Reich, or worse. Or worse. Next level is right here. The EU Soviet. So when you blend fascism with authoritarian, a Soviet system, the EU is beginning to resemble, structurally anyway, politically, more like a Soviet Union than they are a European Union. It'll be hard to distinguish between the two in a few years. So they're basically depersoning people for wrong think in a completely undemocratic process. The European Union is fundamentally undemocratic as an institution. The European Commission that's levying these sanctions is completely, there's nothing democratic about this process, zero due process. Now, some of these will be challenged in the courts in the respective countries, but it'll be expensive. But no, sanctioning and depersoning people for their analytical opinions about a war that's not even happening in Europe. I mean, they can't even claim a national security emergency because none of these European countries are being directly threatened in this conflict. This is an elective proxy war by the West. Okay, they started it. NATO has been working towards this. U.S. intelligence, British intelligence, they've been working since the collapse of the Soviet Union. And it hit a crescendo with the Maidan coup, Western-backed coup in Kiev in February 2014, which led to a bloody and violent civil war where the Western-backed Ukrainian puppet regime of Poroshenko persecuted and attacked Ukrainians based on Russian heritage and language. That is a ethno-based civil war. 8 years, 14,000 dead in Donetsk and Lugansk. Bloody civil war. You don't hear about that, do you? And the West and NATO were backing the Ukrainian side as they used their military to kill their own people. You didn't hear, no one likes to talk about this. But that's what Russia's been screaming about to the United States government and the UN and everybody else since 2014. We need to help these people. Finally, they moved in what the Americans would normally call a humanitarian intervention. But of course, no one's allowed to use that term except America and its allies. And here we are. That's the long and the short of it, folks. We'll talk more about this. But that's kind of like where things are at the moment. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. So, this is bad news, I guess, for Trump's peace deal. It's not going to happen. So the U.S. will just continue making money off LNG. And record U.S. exports in fracked liquefied natural gas this month. 18.6 billion cubic meters per day average. Brand new world record for the U.S. Much of which is going to Europe to supply overpriced U.S. LNG after somebody blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. Does it take a genius to work it out? This is bankrupting Germany. Jobs are fleeing, industries leaving, and these clowns in Europe, I mean, they must be able to figure this out by now. How badly Europe is being played by the U.S., by the British. It's pretty shocking. They haven't worked it out yet. That is quite an amazing story. So watching the European economy crater for what? Just to create a new enemy with Russia, who they were previously trading with, and prospering with Russian gas, driving the German economy, which was so successful it subsidized the rest of Europe. And they killed it because that's what the U.S. wanted. That's what the British wanted. And that war, well, it was going to happen. And now the U.S. are pretending to pull out of the war. It's a U.S. project. And the Europeans have come forward and they won't let go of the war. I mean, it's insane. This is totally bonkers. Completely bonkers. And yet that's where it's at. That's where it's at. I don't know. Well, look, we'll get into this. I've got a clip. I'll probably show it on the other side. Let's take a break right now with the Sunday Wire, and we will connect with our teammates on the other side. I'm Patrick Henningsen, your host. Please stay with us. We will be back very shortly with all this and more, plus featuring the comments of our audience. We'll be featuring some of the better hot takes from the people who really know what's going on, our viewers, our listeners. All this coming up. Stay with us.
For in the final analysis, we all inhabit this small planet, and we are all mortal.
Lately I've been watching the world gone mad. Brothers and sisters full to take a stand. To hate their fellow man, another man. Divide and conquer is the acronym plan. Distract the people, control the story. Don't believe your lying eyes, you know me. Stay in power bait to keep you on edge, make you believe anything anyone says. Keep it left or right, not top or bottom. Accuse the victim, can't you see? We got 'em. Stay in power, no matter what. Playing with the doomsday clock. Turn a blind eye and gather your trust. Pushing us to turn to dust. With captured rights, feudals our time will turn to dust. To dust. Industrialized brutality, commercialized cruelty, people as commodity, cheer on war atrocity, no accountability, perpetual impunity, always have an enemy, the hell of all humanity. Stay in power, no matter what, play with the doomsday clock. Turn a blind eye and gather your trust. Pushing us to turn to dust. Stay in power, cash in the spot. Play with the doomsday clock. Turn a blind eye and join the cause. Pushing us to turn to dust. An empire of lies, history rhymes will turn to dust.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Sunday Wire. I'm Patrick Henningsen, your host. Again, this is episode 574 of this weekly omnibus television and radio program brought to you here again on the Alternate Current Radio Network. Among other streams, live streams are going out live on X, Rumble, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, also BitChute Live, as well as a few other platforms. Of course, we're on Odyssey afterwards, as well as the audio streams, iTunes. Subscribe to us there. Also Spotify, we're there as well in audio format, soon to be in video format. We'll be putting a little more energy into Spotify in the new year, something to look forward to. And again, I want to give an announcement and encourage people to get involved in our winter fundraising drive. Some of you have already. You guys have been absolutely amazing. Some great support that we've gotten from many of you in the last couple of weeks. It's just been incredible, absolutely incredible. We'll be updating the dial to show some of our progress in terms of donations. But subscribe and become a member at 21wire.tv. We really appreciate that. Many of you have, as well as giving donations. So again, you're helping to fund this independent platform. We've been going for quite a few years, in fact, many years, over 15 years, and we're going strong, and we're going to go stronger than ever in 2026. So we're not a flash in the pan in terms of independent media. We've been around, and we continue to make an impact, and we'll make a big impact going forward. So thank you for your support. So we really appreciate it. We're going to go look at some of the comments and stuff, but before that, Christmas season's here. Let's bring in our teammates here from ACR. First on Hesher, Bryan McClainand's joining us on the live link, host of the Boiler Room, all redacted, just like the Epstein files. Anything else that's important, he's got big, thick black line through. That's a protest right there.
We've been redacted, Patrick. We got so many redacted pages that Ruckus crafted up some great graphics for the Boiler Room we had the other night. We had enough redacted Epstein pages to build 2 Christmas trees and a pyramid. That's right. We had a pyramid and 2 Christmas trees made out of redacted Epstein files. So, I mean, it's great. It's great to be here.
That's a masterpiece right there. I mean, is that all Ruckus?
Yeah, hats off to Ruckus. We talked about it in the car before the show, and then he came up with this, and it was just fantastic.
That is an absolute Ruckus. That's an absolute masterpiece. Hats off.
I had one too. Maybe I can flash that on the screen. Mine was haunted by the ghost of Christmas past. However, Mr. Epstein himself. There it is. That was mine.
Let me put that full screen here. Look at there it is.
And then we also had a pyramid for mystical pharaoh because
a pyramid. So a redacted pyramid.
Yeah.
So that's quite a talented gymnastics moves right there, combining two major conspiracies into one that quite frankly don't seem like they should go together, but yet you've done it. A pyramid. We'll have a look at that when you've got that live. Definitely you'll be interested in that one. Well done, guys. That's some Christmas spirit right there. That is you haven't lost your touch.
Yeah, we bring the holiday spirit, I mean, I was going to dress up today, but I ended up showing up in full berserker regalia, so apologies about that. But there's the pyramid also.
Let me bring that full screen. Let's take a look at that. Look at that. And hidden in the warehouse. Wow. Yeah, that is a great creative effort. Again, the genius of Ruckus. There.
Yeah.
My favorite touch was how we redacted the logo itself.
So I like Ruckus. You brought the Christmas spirit. Hesher, you brought the Christmas spirit. Ruckus, you really brought the Christmas spirit. You've got the room decked out, plus the Christmas sweater, which is dead smart, looking smart. So we appreciate it. I didn't even think about, because it's just too early for me to go Christmas. So I didn't bring it. I think we've got Basil coming in on the live link now. Mr. Valentine, there he is. Basil Valentine.
Good evening, gentlemen. Good to be with you.
Good evening to you as well.
Okay.
Do you like that Christmas tree that Hesher's got there? The redacted
That's
Christmas.
Very smart. Well, yeah, very good, very clever. Yeah, I like that. I saw somebody on X saying that the FBI had spent $1 million on redacting the Epstein files, and that constituted treason.
Really? Where's Elon and Doge? They got to audit that, $1 million. What happened to Doge? It's gone, isn't it? So,
yeah, it didn't last very long. Wasn't that extraordinary? Susie Wiles saying that Elon is a ketamine user. I mean, in England, a regular user of ketamine is generally not acceptable in any kind of polite society.
Unless you're in government.
Ketamine and brew crew indicates people who are addicted to cans of Stella and that drug that forces you into an out-of-body experience, forces you down.
It's a horse tranquilizer, isn't it?
So-called K-hole, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the guy is getting paid $1 trillion. He must be the juxtaposition of being a K-head and taking a salary of $1 trillion is mind-boggling, frankly. I can't compute it. Do you know what I mean?
I'm waiting for that.
Maybe we all ought to do more K. Let's get on the K, guys. That's where we're lacking. We need more. We need more business imagination, we will get it courtesy of the inspiration provided by ketamine.
Yeah. There was the guys in South Park were clowning on the K users. They did a whole episode where Stan's dad, who was running a pot farm, colluded with Towley, the government smart towel, and they decided they were going to make a new company, and that they could not make a new company successful unless they were microdosing ketamine. So through the whole episode, it just shows them trying to run this company while like spraying this stuff up their noses the whole time and watching their business and their lives totally fall apart. So yeah, it is kind of weird, Basil, that it's weird that a company can make as much money as like the DOD can pull in, right? Like the entire government, they just signed the NDAA almost $1 trillion, over $1 trillion when you add the taxes and all that. It's like the entire, basically, Pentagon, a government, and the military, like they have the same salary as Elon Musk. I mean, it's not really a salary, but you know what I mean. It's the same amount of money.
I mean, the sums of money that governments deal in these days are dwarfed by the sums of money that, I mean, it is only a tiny handful. Let's say the richest 10 people in the world deal with. The UK government worried about a £34 billion black hole in finances, which means cuts to social services, pensioners going cold, this, that, and the other, winter fuel payments reduced. Musk would sneeze $34 billion and not even notice it. Now, that wasn't the case 20, 30, 40 years ago. We had millionaires, and you had some people who even had hundreds of millions of pounds. But, very possibly. But, the sums that governments dealt in still dwarfed those accessible to private individuals. And that's been not only flipped, but, flipped in a tremendously exaggerated way. And of course, governments refuse to tax these people. Even in Britain, everybody talking about this socialist government. I mean, it's utter nonsense. The Starmer government is anything but socialist. It's neoliberal and authoritarian and warmongering and insane. It certainly isn't socialist. They refuse to introduce a wealth tax. They'd rather cut public services, cut pensions, cut anything but a wealth tax. The result of which is that wealth distribution is now more skewed than it was in Georgian or Victorian times, before we even conceived of the idea of a progressive taxation system.
Well, I would argue, I don't want to get into the taxation debate too deep, but I would argue that because governments now favor monopolies, because monopolies spend more money lobbying governments, this is also a reason why the wealth gap is just going crazy, because we are in the age of monopolies right now, which is pretty scary. This is the comment so far. Best of show today, Danielle Bausch. Wag the Doge.
Very good.
That's clever. Someone says, invite Norm Finkelstein on this program. He would never come. He definitely wouldn't come. I'd be surprised. I don't think so. It's not going to happen. No, not this program. We might be able to get him on a sit down in New York or something like that. I'm working on it, but definitely not this program here. Excellent virtual backgrounds, of course. This is what we do. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, guys, have you had a chance? Do you have any comments on what I was talking about in the monologue? These EU sanctions from the European Commission, of all places. A completely undemocratic branch of the EU, as if there's any democratic branch of the EU. This is just like the High Office sanctioning independent media, journalists and commentators, and people who are ex-NATO intelligence giving their own independent assessment on Ukraine. Debanked, frozen assets, can't fly, cannot board if they're in Africa or if they're outside the EU. The airlines cannot allow them to board under pressure from the EU. So this is complete, and it's for life. They'll never lift the sanctions because
you're kidding.
Yes, because Russia's not going to lose. So these are going to be lifetime sanctions. It's incredible. I mean, I'll bring the directive here up on screen so you guys can see it. But I mean, look at this. Bring this up on screen here. Russian hybrid threats, they're calling it. And this is, we all know him. One of the best commentators on the web, Jacques Bau, ex-Swiss intelligence, worked with NATO. That guy. He's been depersoned. They basically taking away all their rights, destroying their life. And the list is long. And there's also people on this list we've interviewed, by the way. This is what they're running these blacklists up in Brussels. after they've lost. I mean, clearly this is, what do you guys think?
Well, I'm not going to say anything, otherwise I won't be able to travel to France.
I know.
I think this is great. I think this is great, Patrick. I really do.
Yeah, this is a good move. They should do more of this. That'll really fix the world.
Yeah, they need to sanction more of these independent journalists and podcasters.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with Basil.
Yeah.
You know, we need just like, I don't know, these people need to be silenced.
That's right.
How dare they have an opinion that's different from the Times or Der Spiegel or NATO headquarters, for that matter? I mean, these people, these people are trouble. They need to be silenced.
How many were there, Patrick?
There were 12 in this round, but we know 2 in the previous couple of rounds.
You know what this kind of reminds me of? Remember when the media went on a massive smear campaign against the Dirty Dozen, the doctors and all that?
Oh, yeah, for COVID, during the COVID, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Same thing.
Same kind of, it's exactly same kind of play there. But
so whenever there's a crisis,
teeth, you know, I don't know how this is going to fly, though. We'll see.
So whenever there's a crisis, you get the Democratic West, they fold on their democratic principles whenever there's a so-called emergency, and they go immediately to restrict rights of speech immediately, like clockwork. I thought these rights were precisely for times of crisis in the so-called liberal democratic West. It's this utter failure of this liberal democracy promise of, you know, enlightened Europe and America and Canada. They folded during COVID, shut it all down, attacked people, and they're doing it again because they're losing their war in Ukraine. They lost the vaccine war. No one's taking vaccines. The vaccine uptake is cratered. But they were enforcing, they were canceling, they were grounding people, they were depersoning them for speaking out against an experimental injection, which is now discredited.
Patrick, go and have your booster.
So, your 3rd or 4th booster. And they're doing it again. And these people won't stop. They don't have any principles. They're inconsistent. They're hypocrites. If you want to be Stalin, come out and just own it. Put the cap on. You know, show your true colors. If you want to be a Nazi if you're in government, but at least be honest about who you are and what you're doing. That's what I think. I think they need to come out of the closet.
They think that they can make the public follow the bouncing ball of narrative, right? It seems as though, I don't know, I seem to be at a point where it's like, it feels like everything is, you know, emperor wears no clothes. Everything is right in our faces. And it is more so than ever. But at the same time, they still seem to, those that, you know, manage narratives, create narratives, foster psychological operations, put money into organizations that do this for a living, etc. It's almost like they think everybody's so stupid that they can't remember what happened in 2020 and 2021. They can't remember what happened, you know, in 2001. They can't remember what happened, you know, just even a few weeks ago. So it's like they just change the narrative. They distort everything, bring new narratives, distort those ones, and then flip back to the old ones, and they can just contradict everything that was said, you know, the first time through. And they seriously seem to think that they can just like drag us through this like a cybernetic feedback loop of lies, where we'll have no you know combined or long-term memory of the lies that had already been exposed. Like this thing with Russia, for example. It's like, how can a country do this to journalists after the other superpower went through 4 years of a psychological operation about the whole, you know, urine gate thing with Donald Trump and the whole, you know, Steele dossier, all proven to be false, right? That was a false narrative that drove politics, that drove legislation, that cost us bazillions of dollars and tons of like focus attention on that. And it was fake. It was patently fake. We know who paid for it. We know who wrote it. We know who promoted it. We know who lied about it for years and years on end. And now there's just this, oh, well, we'll just forget all that ever happened, and we'll make up this new Russian hybrid fake term for a guy like that. It's insane.
Yep, hybrid threats. It's all about the hybrid threats. So let's take a look at their report on this. Hold on for a minute. Let's get that up on screen. Yeah, the trouble is a lot of people are that stupid, unfortunately. That's a fair comment there.
They wouldn't continue to do it if people weren't so stupid that it actually worked. So there's that.
Yeah, there is that. So here's the report. This is from Euronews. So just understand the source, folks. Obviously, you need to. So there's Jacques Baud on the front. Now, this guy I've met, John Mark Dugan. He's in Moscow. He's American, supposedly sheriff's deputy from Palm Beach or Brevard or something, Florida. Ends up in Moscow. He was actually pushing a lot of fake news, quite frankly, on some very questionable websites. But that's not a crime in itself. It's just bad propaganda. And Xavier Moreau, who is a top analyst and author who's French. So this has come from the French government and is rubber stamped by Brussels. So they definitely got an axe to grind for anybody in the French sort of environment on this. But let's see if we can get this report. Oh, we got the nondescript ad here. Let me just wait for this ridiculous thing.
Who are the Russian propagandists sanctioned by the EU? How can you clamp down on propagandists? Well, according to the European Union, with sanctions. On the 15th of December, 12 people were handed sanctions for participating in pro-Kremlin foreign manipulation and interference operations. 3 of them are Westerners with close ties to Moscow, who participate in pro-Russian disinformation campaigns. John Mark Dugan, an American who acquired dual Russian nationality. A former deputy sheriff from Florida, he has been pushing the copycat network of sham news websites. This operation mimics legitimate European and American news organizations through fake outlets, inserting propaganda narratives into videos and articles which are often produced with the help of AI. Xavier Moreau, a French citizen with Russian nationality. The former military officer spreads pro-Kremlin propaganda through his blog. He also appears as a commentator in Russian and fringe French media.
No, let me just stop you there, guys. Okay, she's calling them Russian propagandists. As far as I know, Jacques Baud has never been to Russia, doesn't go on Russian outlets, so that's defamation and libel right there. So he could sue Euronews for this report. I mean, they're doing propaganda, Euronews. I mean, what they're doing is just ridiculous propaganda, and they're calling Xavier Moreau a propagandist. If you want to, technically, everyone does propaganda. If you want to drill down to the definition, everybody has a bias. Everybody, from the BBC to CNN to us, there is nobody that does not have a bias. If you want to be completely objective and honest, why? That's human nature. But they're spinning it on them because they don't like what they're saying. Now she's going to talk about Jacques Baud here. Let's see what they say.
Or a former Swiss intelligence officer turned propagandist and also a media commentator.
That is just defamatory. Swiss intelligence officer turned propagandist. So this child, I don't know what country she's from. By the looks of it, I would say possibly Latvia, Lithuania, or Estonia. And she's basically libeling and defaming professionals, veteran analysts, and people like this, best-selling authors. Okay, this kid. So the Euronews has found her. She could be the next Mariana Spring. Who knows?
Spoke to Hervé Le Toqueux from Check First, a company which tracks disinformation about their profiles.
On a aujourd'hui des profils comme Xavier Moreau, on a des profils comme John Mark Dugan, qui sont des gens qui ont été, qui représentent une certaine forme de patriotisme.
So they can't prove that anything Jacques Baud said is disinformation. I mean, this guy is judicious, and in terms of his factual reporting, He's a top-ranking intelligence official from Europe, NATO. He's not going to put any garbage out, and he doesn't. But they're calling it disinformation. That's just completely. This is propaganda. This is European propaganda here, and they've got this French talking head here tracking the disinformation. I mean, what a racket! What a grift! This disinformation, but we know it. We know it because we've been reporting on this since the beginning of Russiagate. But
des anciens militaires, des anciens personnes impliquées dans les services de renseignement, un ancien shérif, par exemple.
Now, Dugan, John Mark Dugan, they could have an argument that, you know, he's running mirrored websites, putting out fake news and AI slop. Okay, fine, you can make that argument. Is it a crime? Who knows? I mean, if they're going to make it a crime, well, they're going to make it a crime. But to lump him in, say they bracketed what he's doing, which is dodgy, okay, but they're bracketing that with Xavier Moreau, who's a respectable author, top analyst, brilliant guy, and Jacques Bau. So, I mean, I'll just leave it there. But it's incredible once they get their teeth into this. But we've seen this from Russiagate, the war on disinformation, the war on fake news. Hillary's pushing this stuff out from 2015, 2016. So it's nothing new. They've just revisited this, and they found a new way to kind of operationalize this now. But while they're losing the war, basically. I don't know. This is just insane. But it's, you know, they want to ruin these people's lives for having a different take on what is clearly a proxy war that's bankrupting Europe. I mean, come on. And you're going to attack people for pointing it out that Ukraine is getting hammered on the battlefield and NATO is blowing ungodly sums of money. And there's hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian men getting killed in a losing effort, and Europe's cheering it on. And if we point that out, that's Russian disinformation, really?
Yeah, I think we need to take your passport away, Patrick.
I mean, I think back to when
my
you
cold dead hand, Mr. Valentine.
Right? Like, remember when the whole Kate Starbird thing happened, and a whole bunch of people here in the United States got attacked online and were put on. You know,
I was first.
You were on the list, man.
I was her beta. I was the beta.
Yep.
I was the first sacrificial lamb.
Right. And it was like
she went for me personally. Personally, yep. She went for me.
After Google went for you. So it was like Google went for you. They started chipping away at your ability to monetize. Then they chipped away. They removed your ability to even come up in searches, basically. And then money started flowing into universities. For those that were not with us when this happened, this was back in late 2016, early
2017, yeah.
17. By the fall of 17, it was in full swing. And we were on heat maps, 21 Wire and other of our colleagues were on heat maps that had been generated by D-bag college students at whatever college Kate Starbird worked at.
University of Washington.
University
of Washington.
Yeah.
In where is it? Just up north of Seattle there, the big campus, the big one, UW.
Yep. Whitebird knows. He'll tell me in the chat exactly where it's at. But that was crazy. And I think about that and like how detrimental that was to the business, to the SEO. Like, people don't understand, like, you know, you're talking at the beginning of the show, how many years this has been going on. And there are like many years of work that have gone into certain phases of 21 Wire, alternate current radio, various things that our colleagues are doing that were very focused and built up a very, you know, a nest egg basically on a piece of social media or on the internet somewhere. And they're gone now. We've lost them. They're gone. Like that, our ability to do X, Y, and Z are no longer there. And we lost all those years of work and all the audience we brought there and had to refocus. And we do this over and over and over again. It's like a shell game. And what I'm seeing here from this story, Pat, is it is escalated. The model is just growing of targeting journalists, targeting analysts, people, you know, intellectual people that are, especially if they're anti-war and anti-globalist or anti-Zionist, like all bad words. You can be anti-Russian. That's fine. We love that. You know, you come right in. But this is an escalation to the point of depersoning, like you're saying, and we've seen that happen to people here in the United States, like Dustin Stockton, Jennifer Lawrence, other people, the people that they worked with, put in prison for building part of a wall. So this is a pretty bad escalation as it pertains to journalism, free speech, punditry, analysis, all that.
Yeah, so it's nothing new. We've seen this before, but it's this sanctimonious European entitlement that somehow that they're the bastions and guardians of democracy. There's nothing democratic about the European Union. It's in fact antithetical to democracy. The MEPs who sit in the European Parliament, they have zero power in terms of like they get to do a sort of straw man rubber stamp vote on stuff that's already been decided coming out of von der Leyen's star chamber up there. They have no power. All they can do is sit there and rant on the floor of the European Parliament. So they have the power of the platform. That's it. They don't have any democratic. There's no legislative democratic machinery with the European Parliament.
Well, they get to vote for the president of the commission. Believe it or not, they voted for von der Leyen. But that's because of the sort of default to centrism that people mistake for maintaining the status quo. That's the way I would describe it. You end up with a sort of center-right as the largest single grouping, a neoliberal warmongering grouping that people in very low turnouts in European Union countries have voted for. And you can make a strong case that any sort of voting block of what is in Europe, 400 or 500 million people, is sort of automatically invalid because of its sheer size, and therefore, power should be decentralized. But leaving that on one side, the so-called Christian Democrats get a large block because people think, if I vote for the centrist parties, things will stay the same. There won't be too much rocking of the boat. I don't want far left. I don't want far right. So you end up with these Christian Democrats who are, in fact, likewise, a lot of the fake left, the Starmerite left. And these people are, in fact, neoliberal authoritarians and warmongers. They masquerade as centrists, but in fact, they are anything but. They're extremists. This is an extremist position to start depersoning people. This is, as you said at the top, Patrick, Soviet-esque in the way it's being implemented. I mean, even if people are saying things that might or might not be provable or whatever, well, you can always ignore them. That's the thing. What actual real world harm are they doing? Well, according to the European Union, then they have to be silenced because quite simply they are influencing public opinion in a way that they don't approve of. Nobody's going to die because of what these people say. They haven't committed people to illegal wars that are going to see them killed or mutilated. They're not supporting, not that I know of, they're not avid supporters of genocide, unlike Europe's leaders. So, the problem is that we've got a European governing elite headed by that dreadful creature at the top in the middle, von der Leyen. Merz is, abysmal. I mean, of all the people who could have been made German Chancellor, he's about the worst candidate imaginable. Fervent genocide supporter, desperate warmonger, crashing the German economy in order to ramp up war spending. I won't even call it defense. Bottom right there, you've got the wholly unqualified Kaja Kallas. I mean, what she's doing in a senior position. These people are selected years in advance, and then the pathway to one of the top jobs is smooth, and they are massaged into position because they can be relied upon to say the right thing. Simple as that. They are part of the groupthink.
I mean, she's really thick. I mean, It's about probably the lowest IQ on there. I mean, and then Stubbies, the new Finnish guy, and you just look at the Nazi alliances during the Second World War and the Baltics, Finland, and Ukraine, and it's just like they're trying to recreate the map of the Second World War. I mean, it's just like, I thought the Germans lost. I mean, did they? Did the Nazis lose?
Well, this is it. A lot of people talk about the Fourth Reich. Get Tony Gosling on; it's his favorite topic. You know?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
He's
not shy. He's not shy on this one.
There is that mysterious, if you look at the shading on the NATO symbol, there is that mysterious swastika in the middle of it.
Oh yeah, if you I see that.
If you just look at the dark portion,
it's a crypto swastika, isn't it?
It's a crypto swastika, isn't it? But I mean, it's and yes, people say that the whole European Union project, which was incidentally backed by Mosley after the war and his union movement after the defeat of Nazism, Britain's most famous fascist, Sir Oswald Mosley, through his weight behind the European Union. And you can, quite legitimately claim that any supranational institution of that size is fundamentally undemocratic. And the thing simply shouldn't exist. There should be a much looser collaborationist organization between member states dealing with trade, perhaps borders. But we've got to have this super state, this endless mission creep towards the central government with dictatorial powers and soon an army, and if you don't like it, then you're depersoned or worse. Nobody ever voted for it. The original referendum in Britain, 1975, was about whether Britain should remain in the European Economic Community, the common market that enabled goods to be traded between countries without tariffs. We're a million miles away from that now.
Yeah, now we got the poly market, betting on politics. Total scam. Ruckus, Gladio, and Paperclip designed to make sure the fascists didn't lose. Is that historically accurate?
Well, I mean, if you were a well-read individual and do your history and do some research and you go down that rabbit hole, yes, I believe so. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to spout any conspiracy theories because allegedly that was one of the egregious things that Mr. Boud did to get himself sanctioned by the EU. By the way, the conspiracy theory he's being accused of spreading is claims that that Ukraine allegedly orchestrated its own invasion in order to join NATO. Thank God nobody on this program has ever said anything like that.
Hold on on that, Ruckus. They're accusing him of that, right? And but he is quoting during that podcast. He's actually, or in his book, he's quoting Alexei Arestovich, Zelensky's chief advisor, who said that in an interview 5 years ago, or whatever, that this would be great if we could do this. We could get Russia to, we could bait Russia, and that would bring NATO in and fast track our membership. So Jock Bow is quoting Arestovich. The EU is attributing that him quoting to him, Jacques Boud, and not the source of the quote, which is Zelensky's chief advisor. I mean, so it's just fraud. These people
open and shut case, Patrick. What are you talking about?
It's unbelievable. Like Hesher, if you did that in academia, you get an F on your paper, but government can do this, misattribute quotations. I mean, this is you guys, this is like a Stalin kangaroo court, basically. Again, the EU Soviet. You repeated somebody's words that are wrong, even though they're their words. You attributed the quote, but we're gonna send you down for saying it.
It's crazy. Amatovich Nas in the chat earlier said, hey, at 2121, I read Boud's books. He never used Russian source material in his book. All the sources he used are Western sources. So you can even so they have to go in, they have to cherry pick something out of a podcast from an author. Okay. Think about that for a minute, my friends. This man wrote a book All right, and the book is properly sourced, even according to these, sanctions. So they're lying about the sanctions. They're having to cherry pick from a podcast and then pretend that the source he used was Russian when it was, again, it was Ukrainian in that case.
Right. So, no
but
rules.
remember, Kaja Kallas is the great expert on European affairs, particularly the Second World War. She claimed that it was new to her that China and Russia are amongst the victors who defeated Nazism and fascism. I mean, what? This is just the most basic. I mean,
you know what? And
he's been bragging about the fact she managed to get countries not to meet with Russian diplomats. So Europe's so-called top diplomat is not interested in diplomacy.
So they came to the so-called peace talks planning for war. I mean, these people.
Yes.
These people are just beyond reform, I think, at this point. Like there's no saving this lot. It's like, okay, you guys remember your history class? Do you remember you remember junior high and high school, World War I? Let's start there. What were the great lessons that were drilled into our heads about World War I? Was entangling alliances, right? That was one of the big tripwires that caused World War I, and that's to be avoided at all costs. That's a lesson of history right there. The other one is that war should not be inevitable, that diplomacy should happen to ameliorate the drive to war through multilateral institutions, which were created after World War II, right? That's the other they didn't have that before the First World War, which was a cause for the First World War. Two big lessons. Look at what's happening now. So if that's a failure at this point, that means the entirety of Western academia, education, politics of the last 100 years is a complete, abysmal, total failure. And Europe is a failure. If those were the lessons of the great wars, both wars, and they're repeating it now, and not only repeating it, but doing it with zeal, I would say that Western European civilization is a complete failure. It really, that's the only way.
It's been hijacked by these people. That's the thing. It's been hijacked by a coterie, an elite, a cadre, a junta, call it what you like, which has accelerated in the last 25 or 30 years. I mean, if you look back to the days when Thatcher, who I couldn't stand, was doing battle with Francois Mitterrand, there was nevertheless at least sort of a genuine dialectic going on there. Europe was much smaller. Believe it or not, I can remember when countries like Spain and Sweden weren't even in the European Union. And, gradually with the euro and then increasing focus on foreign policy and a greater homogenization of viewpoints, if you like, the groupthink, which is one of the reasons why Britain voted to leave the European Union. Really, it was Maastricht, the Treaty of Maastricht, that turned it from being an economic cooperation organization into a superstate. And that was when, and then you had, Giscard d'Estaing's new constitution, which was rejected by the Irish, amongst others. And they just plowed on with it anyway. They didn't care. And that was the time when Britain should have left. That was the beginning of the superstate. But then in the last 25 years, it seems to have been taken over by this appalling junta, of which von der Leyen and Kallas are two heads of the Hydra. I'm not quite sure where it originates, this particular, it's ultra-Zionist, they projected the Israeli flag all over the European Commission headquarters building on October the 8th or whatever. It's deeply anti-Russian, warmongering. It's, wants to it seems it wants to destroy as much of traditional Europe, as it were, as it can, which is why it's come into conflict with Hungary and Poland in particular.
Here's a comment. Here's a comment here: about as democratic as an Amazon fulfillment center. You're talking about being employed at an Amazon
employee. Yes,
it's not pleasant apparently in terms of like employee feedback. They track you with facial recognition if you work in those Amazon. You guys know about this. So they're tracking time on the floor, bathroom breaks, whether you're wearing the proper hard hat or whatever. It's all AI. They've got AI running everything. So that's the EU. That's the EU corporate model, as it were.
Panopticon.
Panopticon, yes. Jeremy Bentham, is that the Panopticon? The British philosopher Jeremy Bentham, I think. Was that his?
So.
Yeah, Bentham. The Nazis were destroyed by Russia, but NATO rebirthed them in 1946. Actually,
not right.
Not 46. In 53. Actually, but yes, that's correct. You got the year off a little bit. Fair assessment. So EU Soviet, Basil. Actually, let me go to Ruckus. So Ruckus. The European Union, fundamentally undemocratic, anti-democratic, and they're now sanctioning people for disagreeing with their narrative. Is this not a Soviet system?
Well, yeah, and also I'm scrambling, still trying to figure out where's the official information from the EU itself about this. There might be one or two reports out there, or the media reporting about it, which, the ultimate gatekeepers of the information. It just seems to me, Patrick, that ultimately the EU itself is engaging in warfare, fifth generational warfare, of course, informational warfare. And I see, in particular with the case of Baud, that this has nothing to do with the war. This is about the control of information. They are clearly this is a censorship move. The sanctions are just like a tool, that they're using because they got nothing else, I guess. So I don't know. And I don't know much. I'm not that entwined with the European affairs with the EU and all that stuff. But I'm like,
here's the European Council.
If I lived
from the
anywhere,
Council. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. If I lived anywhere in a country that was part of the European Union, I'm sure I would be screaming to get the F out and wondering why are we in this? I'm that kind of guy. So I don't know how they got there, how they can get themselves out. Obviously, there's voting, and it would appear as in most cases they don't seem to care what the people think or say, and they just do their own thing at behest of their own personal, reasons, their motivations, and or for the benefit of foreign powers. Or other special interests. It's the same thing, but here it is, an unelected body of rulers allegedly over other unelected rulers of sorts,
No due process, no evidence. They just said, oh, you're disinformation. You can't appeal it. I mean, again, this would have to be challenged in the courts of the individual legislatures of the individual states like Germany or France or wherever you're at. And then it's a violation of your European human rights, basically. So it's against the European Human Rights Convention.
And the punishment too is far worse than most people would assume, because they'll be like, oh well, they didn't arrest him and throw him in prison. Well, no, but these things ruin these people's lives like for eternity.
It's worse than prison. It's worse than getting a criminal. But this would never hold up in any criminal court. You see, again, it's the Soviet kangaroo court. This is a comment that I just love, and I'm grateful. YouTube actually brought me here. It's been a long time since it recommended something good. You guys, this is good. I'm happy to see this comment. Thank you, Old Man Barker _ Barker. Thank you. Oh my gosh, that means we're actually getting some love. The algo love. Did
we hit the wave? Are we like bodyboarding body surfing the algorithm a little this week, maybe?
That's it. It could be. Could be Basil. Basil's presence could have triggered the algorithm.
Yeah.
Because Basil came right out and said he supports these sanctions. I mean, immediately, boom, we get the traffic.
YouTube is doing a steak and lobster moment on us, Patrick. They're being nice to us because they're about to cancel everybody.
Basil, we're going to have you on as the token heterodox, anti-alternative media narrative purveyor. Basically, we need a mainstream. You're that token mainstream voice.
Okay. I'll bear that in mind.
Say it again. You want to sanction as many of these people as possible.
Including you.
Including me. My inquisitor, Mr. Valentine.
We should self-sanction. That'll be the next move, right? Download an app.
That's right. I'm not leaving the country.
Can we all let's just do that now? Just YouTube, are you listening? We are self-sanctioning ourselves for wrong think, and we apologize for going against the narrative. We love NATO, and we support all of the NATO directives, and we think the mainstream media is beyond question, beyond reproach. All mainstream media, especially the BBC, Der Spiegel, Deutsche Welt, and CNN.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, though, satire may be all that's left to us in the near future. Fascists hate being satirized because they can't take a joke. And that's, you know, it would be a litmus test, really, when you start getting sanctioned for taking the pee out of people and taking the mickey, then we'll know we are in the final stages of the dystopia.
Hold on, a quick Yiddish IQ test. How do you pronounce this word? CHUTZPUH. Anybody?
Chutzpah. Yeah.
Hawking sound. You need the
it sort of means cheek. You know, the sheer cheek. You know, that's what it means. Yeah.
Why the chutzpah of your statement?
Brazen audacity.
That's right. That's right. Okay. What else we got here? Basil is the man. That's right. That's right. He is our token heterodox pundit for today, helping us with YouTube. Thank you, Basil. We so much appreciate it. All power to the fact checkers. We're all about the fact checkers here on the Sunday Wire. Isn't that right, Ruckus?
Yes, absolutely.
We support them and the careers. We hope that they'll have lucrative careers as fact checkers and disinformation experts, because the world needs more of those. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Yes. Generally, I disagree, but under the Trump 2.0, I'm the other way around.
Look at the love coming in. Look at the love flooding in here in the comments. Thanks for your ongoing support for NATO, Patrick, and calling out all the. I mean, the love is just flowing. You see how good we're doing on YouTube right now. Keep the comments coming, you guys. This is working. This is working. I feel the wave of love here coming. Doesn't that mainstream love feel good, you guys? Do you feel that?
I think
if
feeling that if the four of us go and if the four of us go and we repost the most recent 10 posts from BBC and Der Spiegel, we're really gonna hit the algorithm. I mean, the wave's gonna get big.
Thank you, TG Wilson. Thank you so much. Keep that love coming, you guys. Keep that. Look at this. Mainstream is totally not lame or fake or gay. Oh right. Yes, long time listener. You're so right. Keep that love coming. Oh, I love it. You guys are amazing. Amazing. There's more of this coming, you guys. There's so much this love coming through here. Hold on, let me find a good one. 1 second here. Let me see. Is there any more mainstream love? Oh, look at this. This is
there we go.
Long live mainstream. Thank you so much, Amatovich Nas. Thank you. Oh, here, Basil, you're my favorite Zionists. Look at that. I love the PFP, by the way. Look at that dog. He's having a good time. Look at the tongue. That's Hollywood
right there.
It's right at the foot of the Hollywood Hills.
All right, everyone, drop a 1 in the chat if you're getting a booster today after the show. Let us know.
Oh, you want some vaccine love? Okay, pro-vax. Guys, give us some pro-vax love as well. Oh, look at this. Hesher, Basil, Barry Weiss rocks.
Yeah.
This should get us at the top of YouTube algorithm. Keep these comments coming, folks. This is just beautiful. Oh, Ruckus, look at this. 10x boosters.
There we go.
That's a good citizen right there.
What about our homies
ALR
on
Bricks 5? You're a good citizen. You're a good person.
Oh yeah. What about our homies on X? Let's give Elon some love. Who wants a Neuralink? Raise your hand if you want a I want one. Can I get a Neuralink this week?
I want one. Yeah.
Does it come with a side order of ketamine?
Yes.
It does, and you get pro-Zionist messaging like pumped straight into your brain,
right into the core.
Amazing.
Stop it.
Yeah. Oh, you guys, this is going to help us on the algorithm right here. This comment, look at that.
Ooh.
BB is the Messiah. You guys are going a little bit far. I think this gag is going a little bit too far, actually.
Yeah,
it must be working. We got another one. Marcus Fine is brand new. YouTube recommendation.
Look at that.
Nice.
Oh, good. Hey, if you're a random coming in on a YouTube recommendation, make yourself known, please. And we're just trying to. What we're doing is we're pumping the algo with mainstream love, the AI, so that it will give us a higher position on the referrals on YouTube, because that's kind of how the system works. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Basil, look at that.
Stop it.
Very good. Very good.
That's just beautiful.
Oh my God. I'm tearing up.
That's Anomandarake 96, Rabbi Valentine. Is that Valentine or Valentine?
I always get confused.
Either. I don't
technically it's Valentine, because the E before the I is pronounced I. Because the Epstein should be Epstein, not Jeffrey Epstein, should be Epstein. They've reversed it. It's a little bit of a trick. People didn't get that bit. That's right. So is anybody in favor of burning books? Just make yourself known, because I think YouTube would like that.
Oh yeah.
I got one. Burners.
I got one to suggest, Pat.
Pro book burning. Anybody?
Yeah. Here you go. This would be a good one to burn, considering today's show. Your question about
Rise of the Fourth Reich. Yeah, Jim
Reich.
Mars, burn it. Just burn it. It's conspiracy theory.
Definitely.
Yep.
Definitely don't want anyone reading that.
Russell doesn't like that. Definitely not.
Oh.
Look at this. Oh, this is good here. This is good stuff. Right there, you guys. Wolfgang Felix. Save humanity from the book worshippers. That's right. Light it up.
Why do they got to be book worshippers? Why can't they just go watch Netflix?
Basil, this one for you from Photon. Right there. Tony Blair was right.
He's right. He's right about everything. He is the fountain of all knowledge, wisdom, and truth. He is another good candidate for the Messiah.
Oh, this is good right here.
I will not hear a word against him.
Look at this. I can't wait to live life in a smart city. Oh, this is beautiful.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
much. That's green love coming in. W. Klaus Schwabian love coming in here in the pipeline. It's going to help us. Reading books is stupid. This is the audience we need, right? We're going to do really well on YouTube, you guys. I think I'm feeling this. I'm so feeling this. Any love for Peter Thiel, technocracy? Anybody? Elon love for driverless cars and 100 baby mamas.
Oh, did you hear about the driverless car thing that happened in San Francisco last night, dude?
No.
Last night, San Francisco lost power at a power station. There was a fire at a power station, and immediately 130,000 people, everything north of Market Street, turned off. And they have all these Waymo cars, these driverless cars that drive around the city. And when the power went off, all the cars stopped. No stoplights. Nobody knows how to do four-way stops without the lights. And there's these broken Waymo cars all over the place. San Francisco, what a mess last night, man. I don't know what the status is this morning, but at 4 a.m., it was not good.
That's terrible. I feel triggered. Do you guys feel uncomfortable with that news?
I think that's we probably shouldn't say that. We should probably say Waymo is the best company and Pacific Gas and Electric is also the best company. Good luck, guys.
And you should pull over to the side and allow the Waymos the right of way whenever you see them, because they're more important.
They're all over the place. They're stuck in intersections. They're on crosswalks. It's hilarious.
Well, nobody wants these second-hand electric cars, do they? That's the thing. They're sort of like
some lurid comments are coming in directed at the rabbi. Valentine. Does Rabbi Valentine own a
I
porn
wish.
site and
I
keeping
wish.
the money? What? It's very lucrative.
We'll take it into consideration.
Those websites. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
Patrick is my fave out of Daniel Davis, and Nima. Yeah, I'm on those great podcasts. Nima, Dialogue Works, Daniel Davis. Those are all top G's. Top G's. Okay, let's see. What do we got here? Oh, what else? Save the Talmud. Save the Talmud. You guys are getting a little bit obvious here. Okay, let me see what else we got here.
Before I go, I just want to highlight the
another Stein
interference group in the UK Parliament. I don't know if you're aware of this.
Oh, why? Okay, go ahead.
A new all-parliamentary group on defending democracy. I mean, this is very much an overlap with the European Union sanctions. And guess what? Chief amongst the parliamentarians, co-chair, is John Woodcock, who now styles himself as Lord Walney, who has long since lobbied for the interests of the Zionist apartheid state. He's been to Israel a number of times. So there's a lot of people are saying, well, if we're going to have a UK parliamentary working group looking into foreign influence in British politics, then it has to look at Israel's outsized influence. And indeed, we've got, after Bondi last week, we've got the Metropolitan Police taking it upon themselves to outlaw various words that the lobby don't like. Chief amongst them, of course, is the word intifada, which means shaking off.
That's right.
And can also be interpreted as uprising. I don't know whether the English translation will also be banned. A lot of people have been pointing out not only the stupidity of this, but also the fact that it's, well, it isn't up to the police to decide arbitrarily because of events on the other side of the world and pressure from a particular lobby group, that they're going to suddenly start arresting people for saying a word. But that's what's happened. A couple of people have been saying that, and in particular the phrase globalize the
intifada. Yeah, and well, in Arabic it means shaking the blanket to get the dust off. Like that's
right.
That's what it means. And it's the intifadas can be nonviolent. You know,
that's right.
They can be peaceful,
exactly.
But Palestinians tried that with the Great March Return.
They tried everything, you know, tried negotiation, tried peaceful resistance, tried BDS, you name it.
So the state's just making up, is deciding what definitions of words are rather than the actual definitions of the words, basically.
It would appear to be the Metropolitan Police Commissioner under the influence of the Home Office and, let's just say, other groupings. Be very careful what we say in Britain.
Another grouping. I couldn't. I was trying to think of who they were, Basil, but I couldn't find the name for love nor money.
Be careful.
Oy vey. Back-to-back award-winning comments. Ruckus. I want to own nothing and be happy. That's Lemon 8. How can you top that? But yet you can. Look at this. The Dulles brothers were so cool, says Kurt Boss. Yes. You guys are really helping us with our YouTube algorithm. This is the support we get from our listeners. So, these guys are committed.
Does YouTube actually nowadays run AI on live streams like this too?
They've been running AI, well, what they call AI, which is large language learning models, forever. They've been doing the algorithms, AI run, voice recognition, all that. It's been doing it for years. It's just that now it's becoming increasingly automated.
So in real time, we are being listened to by the AI.
Yeah,
and
it's making a determination about how
making a determination. Yeah,
whether we're good people or shit.
Well, I think Israel is
Jack
great.
Dorsey would say, Israel's great. I mean, yeah, Israel is it's
a beacon of democracy in a tough neighborhood.
It's the fountainhead of democracy and all good things in the Middle East.
and our greatest ally.
Sure. Our greatest friend and ally, and it will always be so, as Nancy Pelosi say. Nancy Pelosi says Washington D.C. can burn to the ground, but Israel will still be our greatest ally and friend. Right. Even after the Capitol burns to the ground, she said. I can't believe she said that.
That's a very normal thing to say, right? I mean,
I mean, I wonder what your take is on Tucker at Turning Point at the big America Fest this week. I heard Ben Shapiro went down like a lead balloon.
Yep,
and
he did.
He deflected questions about the USS Liberty, saying it was all a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen articles saying that the divide now between the America First and Israel First groups is palpable and threatened. And Charlie's no longer there as the glue to hold it all together.
It's an acrimonious split. Oh, by the way, last comment, you guys. Climate change is an existential threat, and vaccines work. Only listen to trusted sources like the BBC. Listen, you guys have done so well for us tonight on the YouTube algorithm. Thank you. We're going to do this again. In fact, we'll be doing this repeatedly at intervals to try to help our placement on this on YouTube. Thank you, everybody. I mean, I think that worked really well, guys. What do you think?
For sure.
Yeah, we gotta take what we can get, right?
That was fun.
I figure I'm waiting for the sponsorship opportunities to roll in now. I mean,
that's right.
Thank you, guys.
Maybe we can sell like disposable razors, or I don't know, shampoo.
There's one more. I saw one in here that says, "I hate privacy." Yeah. Here's another one.
Very
privacy sucks, man.
If you've got nothing to hide, then why should you be afraid of total surveillance?
Absolutely. Yes. Right. Okay. Look, you guys, we got to wrap it up. But I want to say a big thank you to everybody who's tuned in. Hesher, Ruckus, Basil, quick final thoughts. We're going to wrap this up quickly. But Hesher, go ahead.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. It was a blast. Thanks, everybody, for the wonderful comments. I laughed. I cried. It was a good time. Watch The Boiler Room. You can find us at alternatecurrentradio.com. You can find us on Rumble. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on X and all the places. So check us out. Thanks, man.
alternatecurrentradio.com, a source of great knowledge and controversial opinions not allowed on the YouTube algorithm. Ruckus, go ahead.
I'll second that. We got all that going over there at Alternate Current Radio, so make sure you check it out. Just want to remind everyone, obviously, it is the Christmas season, and there's a lot of bad news and things happening in the world. And a strange phenomenon that I notice is that usually around this time of year, people kind of chill out a little bit. Usually there is a little bit of a spirit of love going on. I am a Christian, and I do, of course, have my own opinions about what Christmas is. Maybe it's a pagan celebration. All of that doesn't matter, because usually, generally speaking, around this time of year, people are generally nicer to each other. And I'm sadly seeing a lack of that this year. So I hope everybody in the final moments pulls their head out of their butts and starts treating each other nice again for the Christmas spirit. And in that vein, I will quote, he was a late 19th century, early 20th century essayist by the name of Hamilton Wright Mabie, who is quoted as saying, quote, "Blessed is the season which engages the whole world in a conspiracy of love." Let's focus on that this Christmas season.
That's right, and that conspiracy of love particularly applies to Israel, who wouldn't dream of killing anyone over the Christmas period, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. They have deep respect for Christians, particularly in Gaza and the West Bank. So let's bear that in mind. As for myself, I'm incurring now with, thanks to Patrick, a degree of regularity on the UK column, and I hope that continues into the new year. And I made my debut this week on Palestine Declassified. So I'm moving up the food chain, so to speak. And you can find that latest episode hosted by Chris Williamson and also featuring David Miller online at the moment. And it focuses on, amongst other things, the plight of the hunger strikers and the current state of affairs in Gaza.
Yeah, thank you for bringing attention to that important story, especially over the holiday seasons. It's not something that gets enough coverage. We'll bring them up on screen right now, just so not all of these are current hunger strikers. Some have left the hunger strike. but especially those the first three there, and also Kamran Ahmed and Heba Marisi as well. But thank you for mentioning that, Basil. Very important story. Hope keep them in your prayers over Christmas. I know it's going to hurt the YouTube algorithm right there, but
yeah,
we got a W there for about 30 minutes, so that was good. But Mr. Valentine, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great to see you, and keep up the great work, everybody. Our esteemed panel of experts and media troublemakers, rogue actors, and again, just let me see that Christmas tree, the redacted Christmas tree that Ruckus and Hesher are completely showing off at the moment, gratuitously, because that is just art right there, folks. That is beautiful. That's what it's all about this Christmas. That is the themed winner of the season. Best of show. Best of show. That's great counter propaganda. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ruckus. Thank you, Hesher. Thank you to everybody at the Boiler Room and Alternate Current Radio and at 21st Century Wires, comment threads and streams as well. Thank you for joining us. That is it, folks. That is the show. That's all we've got time for this week. Again, this is episode 574 of the Sunday Wire. And do check us out and think about supporting us for the winter fundraising drive. Just go to 21st Century Wire, hit the donate button, and it'll give you some options there. Obviously, we'd like you to subscribe to 21wire.tv as a regular subscriber, as a regular member. That would be amazing. We've got a lot of work to do. This is going to help it make it happen for us in 2026. This will help to plug the gaps and help us to fund and do the various upgrades and expansive operations that we need to do. So please support us for this winter fundraising drive, 2025, 2026. We need your help, folks. If you like what we do and you want us to see more of it and you want to support us, please find it within your heart to do so this Christmas season. We really appreciate it. And those of you who have, we'll read some names off next week, but we're not going to have a Christmas episode because it's midweek, but we'll see you next Sunday. We'll have something impactful for you over Sunday, and hope you're going to join us then. We'll see you all, guys, and we'll have the team back as well during that period. So for your host, Patrick Henningsen, that's all we've got time for today. It's been great to see you guys, and we shall see you when we see you. Take care. All the best. Merry Christmas. And yeah, we'll get to you before the new year, though. We'll get to you before the new year. See you next week.
Y no podría ser la excepción. El partido, fuerza, fuerza. Fuerza, fuerza. Se vive hoy. Se vive esta manifestación desde el corazón y las entrañas de un pueblo. Por eso hoy queremos recibir a ese líder, a ese caballero. You are the revolution that you've been waiting for. You are the revolution that you've been waiting for. You are the revolution that you've been waiting for. You are the revolution. You are the revolution. You are the revolution. You are the revolution. That you've been waiting for. You are the revolution. You are the revolution. You are the revolution. That you've been waiting for. You are the revolution. When you're tired of being just a commodity, you are the revolution. And when gaslit into another war, stand strong, because you are the revolution.
You are the revolution. You are the revolution. You are the revolution. You are the revolution
that you've been waiting for.
You are the revolution. You are the revolution. You are the revolution.
They conspire against you, accuse you of terrorism, to steal your sovereignty. Hold fast, watch it collapse. But just stop. I know that we still have the power. You are the revolution. They want to centralize, monopolize, control your thoughts. Breathe, go deep, go outside, put seeds in the ground. You are not alone. You are not alone. You are the revolution that you've been waiting for. You are the revolution that you've been waiting for. Alone. You are the revolution that you've been waiting for.
You are the revolution.
You are not alone. That you've been waiting for.
Oh, hi. Is this a train to the revolution?
Why, yes, my lady. And you're right on time.